Hi, guys. I'm Meridith Rojas. I am the Chief Brand Officer at Captivate. We're an influencer marketing agency and platform. And I'm so excited to moderate this conversation with Maya today. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll dive into some questions.
Perfect.
All right, quiet, guys.
Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here with you today, and I have to apologize for my 1-900 voice. I've spent the past week at an internal conference speaking and talking, so I'm on my voice on its last legs. So I'm Maya Kosovalic. I'm the VP of Ecom and Digital Innovation for NYX Professional Makeup at L'Oreal. I've been with L'Oreal for over 17 years and at NYX for over 4. And NYX Professional Makeup, super cool brand. If you haven't heard about it yet, you should definitely check it out. We're in most mass retailers and also available online. You can definitely go shopping at nyxcosmetics.com. Essentially, it's a professional makeup line at a very accessible price point. So check it out.
Awesome. So let's start with this term metaverse. It's actually over 30 years old. Did you guys know that the term metaverse is not new? It's over 30 years old. Show of hands, who knew that? Okay, you guys are smarter than me. So now everybody's talking about it. Marketers are sort of scrambling. It's a hot button thing. What's going on and why now?
Sorry, I keep getting stuck on something here. That's a great question. So yes, the metaverse is not a new dream. It was actually, the term was first coined in the novel by Neil Stephenson called The Snow Crash. And the novel depicts a dystopian society where people escape through alternate realities or virtual reality. And then so that's 1992. In 2003, something called Second Life was launched, and I'm sure some of you have heard of it. Can we have a show of hands who's familiar with Second Life? Yeah, so that was 2003, and Second Life was essentially a metaverse. It was a social media platform where people could interact in real time with one another as avatars. But Second Life did not reach mass adoption. In fact, it was significantly dwarfed by another social media platform that was formerly known as the Facebook. Very 2D experience, very simple experience, and that is what I guess culture and people were ready for at that time. And then, Roblox, which today is extremely popular with the younger generation, is also not a newcomer. Roblox was launched in 2006, but reached really mass adoption more towards 2020. And then in 2011, the book Ready Player One came out, which also depicted a dystopian society where people escape through virtual reality. And then the movie came out in 2018, et cetera, et cetera. And so really it was in 2020 when Roblox and a lot of these games that allow for multiplayers to engage in real time in virtual spaces reached significant daily and monthly active users. So I'm talking about Roblox for sure, Fortnite, Minecraft. And so 2020 is a tipping point. So what happened in 2020?
COVID.
Very good. COVID, the craziest social experiment that we all lived through in the last little while. And so essentially COVID happened, and so we all woke up in a dystopian reality, stuck at home, where the only way to escape was through screens. And so COVID was a tipping point and an accelerator for a lot of this technology that has been around for a while, like AR and VR. And then the other accelerator was advancements in technology from when Second Life was first launched in 2003, which is we have 5G, which allows essentially for really immersive AR experiences even in the palm of your hand. And so suddenly these platforms became much more accessible and more interesting, and there was a captive audience sitting at home looking to be entertained, looking for new ways of working, new ways of connecting, new ways of socializing. So those two, and then we have creators. A lot of freelance creators during COVID were also sitting at home, and a lot were unemployed. And so in an effort to find alternate sources of revenue, some stumbled upon something called NFTs, which essentially allowed you to prove ownership of digital assets, and started experimenting and playing with this technology to generate alternate forms of revenue. And so this kind of created a movement among creators. And so there was creation of digital assets and then speculation with purchasing digital assets that happened because, once again, we had a very captive audience, a lot of whom was looking to entertain, maybe even gamble, who knows. I'm predicting, but like fundamentally you have dystopian reality, you have technological advancement, and you have this creator economy that's emerging, and then speculation on digital assets, and that's what we today know as also Web3. And then at the end of, now in October of 2021, finally, Meta, or Facebook, rebranded itself to Meta, essentially signaling to the world that this thing called the metaverse is here to stay.
It's born and it's here.
Yeah.
So now marketers are scrambling, and I don't know about anyone in the audience, but before I joined Captivate, I was at Logitech, and it was, before I joined, we built an award show in Roblox, and it was like this brand new thing, and everyone's like buzzing about it, and meanwhile it was 30 years old, and we had no idea. It was just the right time. The stars lined up. So tell us why it was important for NYX Professional Makeup to enter the metaverse and what that meant for your brand.
Sure. So, NYX Professional Makeup, well, at NYX Professional Makeup, we are really driven by our community. So our mission is to deliver tools, accessible tools, to creators, to makeup junkies, beauty lovers, and self-proclaimed makeup experts for unstoppable self-expression. And so really, they are all creators, and creators move culture. Where creators go, culture and business follows. So it is this obsession with supporting our creator community that leads us to being obsessed with moving at the speed of culture. And it leads us to adopt a test and learn mindset, even when it relates to digital innovation and technology. So we don't shy away from it. We roll up our sleeves and dive in and try and figure it out. And sometimes in the process, we break things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make great things. But it's a fun process for sure. And Instagram recently, well, not recently, I guess in January, published their 2023 trend report, and one data point stood out to us, which is that in 23, over 50% of Gen Z will be looking to avatars and influencers for inspiration on beauty and fashion trends. So that's a pretty sobering sort of reality.
Pretty big number.
Yeah, it's a very big number, and Gen Z is our core consumer. So there's that, and there's also another study published by Razorfish last year that shows that Gen Z actually feel more themselves, or that they can feel more themselves and self-express more in the metaverse or in virtual spaces versus in IRL, and that they embrace brands in the metaverse. And then lastly, last year at AWE-XR, the conference in San Clemente, on augmented reality and VR and XR, Meta came on stage to say that, they believe that digital identity and self-expression will play a key role in the future of the metaverse. And so as a brand that really has a mission to deliver accessible tools to creators for unstoppable self-expression, NYX Professional Makeup really almost owes it to its community to continue delivering on that promise, both in this universe and the metaverse.
Yeah. So interesting. I think about, just a quick aside, do you guys know Iron Mouse, the VTuber? Okay, so Iron Mouse is a streamer, female gamer, and she is basically a cartoon character, but nobody knows what she really looks like. And what's interesting about that is she has an autoimmune disease, so she can't get out of bed, or it's very difficult for her to. So she said she's never felt more comfortable than she has in her digital body. So right along the lines of what you're saying is like digital expression is actually not separate from oneself. As Gen Z and maybe Gen Alpha start to get more and more immersed in this thing, it's an extension, right? And it's in some cases a persona that they might prefer, or they can live up to a potential that they couldn't in their own body.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually interesting you say that, because we were, my colleague and I, Charlotte, who's sitting in the audience, is on my team, Um, we were at a panel earlier today, and one of the women was talking about who I think works for KPMG and like innovation, about her daughter like coming to her in tears because she was being bullied, and she was like, but she was being bullied in Roblox, so her avatar was being bullied, and she was like. She's like, I thought, well, it's a game, like it's an avatar. You're not really being bullied, but she's like, but no, my avatar and it's an extension of me. It's my digital identity and my physical identity are one and the same. So it is like I am being bullied, and so she was in tears over this. Yes, Gen Alpha definitely looks at this in a very, very different way.
Totally. People's avatars get bullied, get beat up, get assaulted. Like there's a whole new set of concerns around your digital identity because it is an extension of you. All right, so I'm really excited to share or have you share because they're not my projects, but I get to kind of sit here and help guide. There's a couple of things that Maya's working on or has worked on in the metaverse for NYX Professional Makeup, and you have some videos as well. But like, why don't you first tell us a little bit about the Pride activation and about how you approach this one in the metaverse?
Yes, for sure. So first of all the projects that I work on, it takes a village.
Oh yeah.
So it's not, none of these are mine. I mean, Charlotte is part of my team, but there is a very large team back in LA that worked on all of these activations. So Pride, as I said, we're a brand that's really mission driven in terms of supporting our communities and our tribes. And we are a proud ally of the LA LGBT Center and support the LGBTQI plus community 365 days of the year. And so last year with Pride, and it being the first year in over 2 years where we could finally celebrate Pride in person, it was supposed to be this salubrious moment. And it was also at the same time when there was a lot of cultural tension surrounding this community. And so we felt it was important to be able to create a platform that will be safe for all to access from anywhere to be able to celebrate Pride. And so we partnered with the people of Crypto Lab and the Sandbox to create what's called the Valley of Belonging and essentially put on the first Meta Pride for people to celebrate from wherever they are. And as part of this project, working with people of crypto, we created a collection of 8,430 avatars that were representative of 84.3% of the world's majorities, meaning 36 skin tones, every ethnicity and sexual orientation represented in an avatar collection and dropped as NFTs, and dropped during what is now, called the crypto winter. So it was dropped in June of last year when the crypto market was experiencing a meltdown, and the collection sold out. So it was really well received. It was quite successful, even when other collections had hard times selling through. And it resonated with the community because of this element of representation and inclusivity. And I've had gamers sort of approach me at various events that are familiar with the project that were really emotionally moved by the fact that they were able to see themselves in a gaming avatar, which is not something that we're used to seeing.
Kind of redefines what inclusivity around a brand can be, because there's things you can do in environments like this that you can't really do IRL.
Absolutely. So actually, if you want, I don't know if we have the video. Yeah, we can have a look at the Valley of Belonging. Majority.
So great. And so Sandbox, I think a lot about, the different environments, and we're going to talk about something you did in Roblox, but how did you feel about the engagement on Sandbox? And I know you said your communities, or NYX professional makeup's community is very, very engaged. How did you feel about Sandbox as an environment to do that in?
I think the Sandbox founders were committed to creating this space to create inclusivity in their platform, which I think is really fantastic. And People of Crypto are partners very closely with them. So I think it was at that moment it was the right place, the culturally relevant place to do it. And the community was very receptive because an overwhelming majority of wallets that purchased the collection were the Sandbox gamers. Yeah. So it was very much embraced by their community.
That's great. Any key learnings that you could share?
Yes. So, lots. But I would say that, our mission was to create a safe space for our community to celebrate Pride. It was also to recruit, obviously, new consumers. We always want that. And specifically the gaming cohort. We also wanted to bring our community in, our Web 2 community into Web 3. And, I would say that is probably one of the most challenging things that we're facing in terms of adoption of Web 3, because there are still a lot of barriers to entry. It's a complicated consumer journey. And for consumers that have never been in that space before, there's a lot of steps. And I remember, I've listened to a lot of podcasts on these topics, and I forget if it was Kevin Rose or who exactly was talking about it, but he said, I knew when social media was going to hit a tipping point in mass adoption was when my mom called me and was like, I just created an account on the Twitter. And, it was, and his 70-year-old mother did this, so it was super easy to do. And he was like, that's not the case with Web3. So it's a similar challenge. It's really, I think, going from Web 2 to Web 3 is a really hard step, which is why you'll see, our next project we tested was in Roblox, which is more of a Web 2 experience. And so maybe now we're all kind of looking for this Web 2.5 where consumers are ready and to engage with this new technology, but in a world that has less barrier to entry.
Totally, yeah. So the Roblox experience that I created at Logitech, our CMO had never gone in Web3, and her avatar kept drowning in the little pool that we had. So she's like, I'm in the pool and I can't get out. So I do think it's a different set of challenges for an older demographic or just a demographic that's not exposed yet. But it's super interesting. So
in truth, it's not even just for the older demographic. It wasn't even that easy for us. If you think about opening a MetaMask wallet, getting money in there, it takes days to clear the transaction sometimes.
Yeah,
so and then usually you don't realize that when you're a consumer and the mint is today, and you're like, oh, no problem, I'm gonna go do this today, and then you're like, oh, well, I missed the mint because I didn't do this 3 days ago.
So do you think it's the brand's responsibility to educate their consumers about the sort of cycle and the timing and what goes into being a participant in this?
Yeah, absolutely, and we certainly tried. And at the end of the day, though, I think our consumers are used to one-click checkout. Right. So it is a very different process and consumer experience in Web3. So I think until that consumer journey is simplified, and it maybe not one click, but 2, it's going to be hard to onboard the masses into Web3.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, now moving back to Web 2 and talking about Roblox. So the end of last year, you launched House of NYX Professional Makeup in iHeartland on Roblox. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yes. So first of all, Roblox is a super interesting platform, and I think a key platform in terms of hitting this tipping point around digital identity. So I don't know how many people in the audience have kids. Raise your hands. Okay, fair amount. And if your kids are like between the age of 5 and 15, if you think about what were you doing between the ages of 5 and 15 when you were not in school and you were like you had free time? Playing outside, playing outside. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was riding my bike or climbing trees with my parents, nowhere to be seen. So today, unfortunately, our kids are growing up in somewhat of a dystopian reality where that is just not the case.
They're climbing trees in Roblox.
Right. Well, I mean, there's like a concern around safety, and so there's very little unstructured free play without parental supervision. It's all organized through play dates or at school or after school activities. So really, gaming platforms have become a place where kids can play without parental supervision, and they can play in real time with their friends. So they go to school, they wear a pair of sneakers. What those sneakers look like is important because that's how they show up at recess in front of their friends. Then they go into Roblox, and if you've, after school, to play with those same friends, but now as their avatars. And if you've ever played Roblox, you know that on day one, your avatar looks terrible. Like, it's very obvious that you're a newbie. And so how you show up in the digital space is important if that is 50% of your socialization with your friends. And kids today cherish getting Roblox gift cards for Christmas so that they can buy clothes and accessories for their avatars. And for me, that was an aha moment because I remember when I started looking into Web3, I was like, well, personally, I don't really see why I would want to have a digital Birkin bag. Like, I still want the real thing.
Yeah.
It's just lost on me, this connection of like why people would like pay so much money for something like this. And then when I thought about it from like the Gen Alpha perspective, if you think about, I mentioned that over 50% of Gen Z will be looking to avatars for inspiration in fashion and beauty. But where did we look for inspiration when we were younger? Anybody? Magazines, TV. I mean, you were looking to your primary form of entertainment.
Yeah.
And this is their primary form of entertainment. They spend more time in games than watching TV. And so that was the aha moment of like, for this generation, digital goods will be as important as physical goods because digital identity and physical identity will be one and the same.
Totally. So I know we're coming up on time. We didn't hit everything. So
Yeah.
We just have a lot to cover. But what I want to ask you is the two things. One is, were you trying to sell physical products in the real world, or was it a brand awareness play, or was it both with Roblox?
So it was. So first and foremost, it was a brand awareness play to like build brand affinity with this younger generation because we do know that they embrace brands in the metaverse. And so the video that I have, you can play without volume. It's just, we launched the brand experience, and then on Wednesday of this past week, we launched an obstacle course, which is an immersive, essentially, brand experience that takes anywhere between 3 to 7 minutes to complete, but you'll have to like try many times before you are actually able to complete it. So the amount of time that they spend immersed within the brand is, something that advertising money can't buy. And so you can play it because there shouldn't be any sound. And so it was both. And when we launched this obstacle course, we also launched UGC goods that you can purchase in store that are branded, as well as goods that you can win and earn inside iHeart. So we were testing both theses essentially.
Got it. And so the other thing that I think is like the most fascinating thing, and we don't have a ton of time to talk about it, so we'll need another session at some point, but is that NYX Professional Makeup launched the first beauty DAO, which, mind blown, think this is amazing for innovation. Can you just tell us a little bit, first of all, maybe some people don't even know what that is, so maybe start there, and then just a little bit about what your objective is with the DAO.
Yeah, so a DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. So essentially, it's like a corporation in Web3, has stakeholders or shareholders, and it's its own entity. And so we launched this as a way to build relationship with 3D creators, because in IRL we support the creator community. We provide tools for self-expression for the creator community, and where creators go, culture follows. So we're essentially doing the same thing in the virtual world, which is building a relationship with the future creators 3D creators who will help define the role of cosmetics in digital identity and the role of beauty in the metaverse. So it's really it's an extension of our creator strategy and supporting creator communities.
I love that. Can we see if anyone has questions? Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Here we go. If you're new to the patio, your name and where you're from? Hi, I'm Craig Zevin. I'm head of marketing at Spaceport. I was wondering, are you planning to extend to other metaverses? Are you thinking we are going to stick in one or two and really expand and build presence there? How are you thinking about expanding as those worlds, I guess, grow?
So that's a great question. The short answer is I don't know. I mean, like I said, we have a test and learn approach, so it's an iterative process, and time will tell. I mean, the dream is that eventually they're all going to be interoperable. So.
Anyone else?
You good?
All right.
All right.
Thank
Wonderful.
you guys.
Thank
Round of
you.
applause. Thank you. Woo!